Started. If you guys are ready up here. You guys all ready? Ready? Thank you very much. Welcome everybody to the Sarpy County and City's Wastewater Agency meeting. Today is Wednesday, December 13th, 2023. It's 4 o'clock. Copy of the Nebraska Open Meeting Act is on the north wall of our agency boardroom. In attendance today, we have the Mayor of Springfield, Bob Roseland, the Mayor of Gretna, Mike Evans, the Mayor of La Vista, Douglas Kendig, the Mayor of Bellevue, Rusty Hike, the Mayor of Papillion, David Black. I'm Don Kelly. I represent Sarpy County. Our agency administrator is Dan Hoynes. And we also have our agency project engineer, Jeff Thompson here, our agency treasurer, Jim Timmerman, our agency legal counsel, Adam Charleston, and Lisa's running the show from the command ship over there as our secretary. If you would, silence your phones if you haven't already, and let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any comments from the board before we get rolling here? Okay, we'll start with our staff and consulting reports, starting with Dan Hoynes, Agency Administrator.
Mr. Chair, member mayors, I'll defer my comments. You're probably going to hear from me more than you care to tonight, so I'll defer to the agenda items.
Okay, sounds good. Jeff Thompson, Agency Project Engineer.
Chairman Kelly, agency member mayors, thank you. Jeff Thompson, project engineer for the agency. Pleased to report that Hawkins and their team continue to fuse pipe along the entire alignment for segment 2 and 3, or excuse me, segment 1 and 2. And the Hawkins team is mobilizing in Springfield with their job trailer and other materials and equipment to start excavation and digging for the wet wells in Springfield. As I stated last meeting, the Mitchell Road excavation is complete and the mud pad is poured. They're just waiting on reinforcing steel to get on site so they can start tying steel for the foundation of that system. So I will go ahead and just jump into some quick pictures to kind of show you where we're at along the alignment. First picture you see here is along 120th Street looking straight north. Mitchell Road is just up the hill there by those homes. Moving north, this is still standing on 120th Street looking east, just south of Mitchell Road there. This is just on the east side of those homes. The roadway and the crossing that you see there in the background is actually the steel casing, open cut steel casing that's getting put in currently for those two crossings at Mitchell Road. And this is a picture at Mitchell Road with those steel casings looking straight east down towards 111th and 108th Street as you continue to move east through the project. But as you can see, they're fusing lots of pipe and getting it strung out and laid. Other than the casings and crossings at the roadway locations and creeks, they really haven't started any physical pipe installation. But based on the meeting we had this morning, it sounds like they're planning on starting that sometime in the next week and then hitting it real hard after the new year. So. It's just moving down Mitchell Road to the east. Just continuing down Mitchell Road there. You can see they've stripped the topsoil along the alignment. As we continue to move down, this is 111th and Mitchell Road. They've actually got their fusing machine set up there and they're starting to fuse pipe at that location, and we'll start stringing it east and west as well. On this Mitchell Road at roughly 108th Street, you can see the rock quarry area there in the background. Jumping next to, oh, it must not have loaded. Well, that's all I have, I guess, for the moment. The Hymas team is stringing pipe out along 96th Street all the way over to the county yard and fusing pipe there. Like I said, they've got the crossing at 87th Street complete, the one at Platteview Road complete, the one at Hidden Valley. I think they'll be finished by the end of the week. And then, like I said, they're going to start digging pipe around 87th Street, try to get it all backfilled before the holiday. So. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have as it relates to the construction progress.
Do you have an update on the permitting
Yes,
Corps?
good question. Yes, we've actually had several very progressive meetings with the Corps of Engineers, the NRD team, as early as Monday, or as late as Monday this week. They've assured us, even with some vacation time that's coming up, if we get that submittal back into them by the end of the week, that they'll get that reviewed and hopefully get the permit issued, or the emergency action plan approved. We already have the permit in hand, but the emergency action plan would get approved before the holidays and hopefully get started on that work shortly thereafter. So railroad is coming along well as well. They're looking at scheduling the flaggers for that rail boring, and I think after the first of the year, we'll get that all shook loose and be able to complete that last leg of segment 4.
So once the permit's issued and the work is completed, that should take how long?
I think the boring under the creek's probably 2 to 2.5 months. I mean, it's
So
pretty,
springtime for the
Yeah, I think-
first ceremonial flush?
yeah, if you want to have one, yeah. I'm not sure what we're
yeah.
going to flush, but yeah.
Yeah, we do
I don't
want to
know.
have
We can
one.
get you a stool over the wet well, and
We just
I
got to
don't
find
know.
us something to flush, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, we can get you a stool and put it right over the hatch of the wet well, and you can do what you may.
That should be then that pipe will be open and
It would be available for the oak leaf
Ready-
development
okay.
as soon as they're ready to start footings and foundations of buildings, and whenever they're ready to flush. Yes, sir.
thanks, Jeff.
Yes, sir. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Adam, nothing? Okay. That brings us to the consent agenda. We have 2 items on the consent agenda. Unless any of the agency members would like to see those discussed on the regular agenda, I'll take a motion to approve as published.
Motion to approve. Second, Bellevue.
Okay, motion by Papillion, second by Bellevue. Any further comments or discussion? Please vote.
Yeas 6, nays none, motion carried.
Okay, on the regular agenda, first item is Resolution 42, which approves the First Amendment to the Sarpy County and Cities Wastewater Agency fiscal year 23-24 budget. Dan Hoynes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, member mayors. If I may, I think we may have skipped over the announcements by the member mayors and the chair. I think that, I know Mayor Kindig had an introduction, at least, that he wanted to make.
Oh, well, I was actually just going to wait until the
All right,
item 4.
I will defer this then to Mr. Timmerman. So,
Okay, thank you. James.
Agency Chair, members, James Timmerman, Agency Treasurer. You received a copy of kind of a high-level budget amendment plus the entire budget, so I'm just going to really go over the highlights. In regards to revenues, on member pilot contributions, we're about $340,000 so far this year, more than we budgeted, and that's really a fixed number now for the year. In terms of connection fee, we're already a little bit above our budgeted amount. And then with interest, due to the favorable interest rates, we're receiving a little more interest than we had planned. So overall revenues so far for the year is about $216,000 more than was projected. The reason, I guess I should back up, the reason we made this amendment was to look at adding the administrator position for the rest of the year and where that would fit. On the expense side, we've reduced the amount we're going to spend on financial advisors, which is the E&Y, and that's really due to the fact now that the WIFIA loan is closed. So our need for them is greatly reduced. Also, in line 005.40, we're reducing some of our consulting fees for Midwest right-of-way that we had budgeted. And also in other professional fees, reducing some of our legal fees. Again, now that WIFIA is closed, now the land rights issues are kind of less. And then, so those are really kind of the bigger savings in expenses. And then if we look at the administrator position, I'm projecting really for 6 months, that position should cost around $127,000. And that's with salaries and all benefits loaded in. So really looking at, even with those, so looking at that amount, really we've generate enough revenue for the year to cover that. Plus also, we're saving about $265,000 in those expenses that will help cover the position. And with that, I'll take any questions anyone has.
Questions for James?
Just, did you up like the rent and possible furnishings that we're gonna need as we move in, or?
At this point, I have not. And the way it's looking with rent, it's probably going to be a little less.
Right.
So, moving. But
Per,
no, I
per,
have
per square foot, but, yeah,
square foot.
Mayor Kindig, I think any potential move's probably going to align with the budget
Okay.
next year.
Okay.
And then one other item I want to just bring up while I'm here is on our fiscal year 23 audit. I had some emails back and forth with the auditor. All the field work is complete. They are towards the end of their review process, and the auditor emailed me today and said I should have a draft by the end of the week, which then I'll pass on to the agency administrator. And so it should be done by the end, it will be done by the end of the year, fiscal year of this calendar year, just for an update.
And that being the case, James, then would it be fair to say that we'd be able to present that report at the first meeting in 2024 on January 24th? If you remember, we were delayed pretty substantially last year, but James has worked and stayed on it, so I appreciate that.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks, James. Take a motion to approve Resolution 42.
Motion. Second.
Was that you, Bob? You? Okay. Motion by Gretna, second by Springfield. Any further comments or concerns? Please vote.
Yea, 6, nays none, motion carried.
Okay, item 4 is Resolution 43. This approves the employment contract between the Sarpy County and City's Wastewater Agency and Daniel E. Hoynes, Don Kelly, Agency Board Chair, who will defer comments to the Vice Chair, Douglas Kindig.
Do the other mayors think we'll get a motion, a second on this? You think that's gonna be doable, or?
I don't know.
Uh,
Maybe we should have a pretty long and protracted discussion. What do you guys think?
We could have that.
Fails for lack of a motion.
I mean, we could ask him to sing his high school fight song or something, just see how he, reacts under pressure.
Well, we'll see what comes. You got to be fairly nice to him. His lovely wife is here this evening, but, before we move on that, as we went through this hiring process, I wanted to make sure that it was 1,000% transparent and that we did everything that we possibly could to find the best candidate. I want to introduce Christina Brownell and Wendy Lowry. She's my HR director at La Vista. Christine is with MAPA. They pretty much ran this. They were the ones that found all of the publications to put in, did the national search, did all the reviews of all the resumes, did the initial interviews along with Scott Keep, the city administrator of Platt Smith, and then James Caraway. They brought us two distinctively different candidates. Obviously, the individual from Texas was extremely qualified as an administrator. But then in the long run, Dan's experience in Sarpy County and the work that he did throughout the last 6 years ended up being the recommendation then of all the mayors and Commissioner Kelly. But I just wanted to say to the two of you that the amount of work that the HR department does that maybe some of us take for granted, we appreciate that. And maybe I didn't know how much work you did. So I think you did a very honorable job with a lot of integrity. And I think that's what's important in this whole process. So on behalf of the board, we just want to say thank you. No. And you can be dance backup singers for that fight song if you want.
Well, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and make the motion to approve Resolution 43, approving the employment contract. Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Sarpy County and a second by Gretna. Comments from the board? Questions? Adam?
We did have a late change to the document, modification to section 4B. If you don't have copies in front of you. You got it? Okay,
What
good.
page was that on, just so that,
Page 6 of 7.
what page?
Page 6 of 7.
Okay,
We just modified the language to be
you.
consistent with the other agreements. The resolution for the board, authorizes administrative changes to, like, you could argue that this falls in that, but full disclosure, this came in yesterday, so we'd like to modify that contract for this one provision, one change.
So this would be an amended,
It'd be approving the contract
Amended to
as
what's-
amended by
this is not what's on the agenda, right?
Correct.
Okay, so then, if that's the case, before we take questions, I want to change my motion to make it I'll move to approve the amended contract that's in front of all of us and will be in the record after this meeting. And second by Gretna. Okay, now discussion or questions for Adam? Okay, well then, before I call for a vote, just a comment real quick to kind of reiterate what Mayor Kindig spoke about with the assistance we received on this national search. You know, we knew this had the potential to be a huge undertaking, but we never really realized how much we don't know about what it takes to really, in essence, start up a new utility. And so we had to go out for some real expertise on the HR side, but it enlightened both Mayor Kindig and I, and I'm sure the board, of all the work that lies in front of our new administrator, provided this resolution passes, to establish this organization to make it effective and something that we can all be proud of that serves the public interest in a great way. So again, my thanks to you ladies for all your help and counsel. We got a lot of great counsel from them, and they made sure everything was done right by the book, and we appreciate that, so thank you. Any other comments before I call for the vote? Please vote.
Yeas 5, nays
Oh, wait.
Gretna.
I was 4.
Oh, you want to change it?
Click 4.
Are you,
He really did.
I did.
okay,
That's weird.
There it is.
I'll change it.
you
Yeas
do that
6,
for me?
nays none, motion carries.
You clicked my mouse.
Little melodrama added into the proceedings.
Sorry.
Congratulations. Any comments?
Yeah, and Mayor Kindig kind of stole my thunder a little bit. I'd like to introduce a special guest, my wife of 42 years. She hates public recognition more than I do, but we're good. So she pinned my first badge on me on my 21st birthday. I said she always comes to the events where I get the job, but never when I'm losing or leaving.
Nah, smart.
Very supportive, but specific to the issue, gosh, I keep using this term, it's been very organic over the last 6 years, crawl, walk, run. But I'm humbled, I'm honored, can't wait to just be able to focus on one thing and to be deconflicted and to be able to just get up every day and figure out what's in the best interest of all of you coming in there. And the added bonus for me is the ability to work with your administrators coming in. I mean, just, we don't always agree, but I think we've got enough of a relationship that They know I'm going to listen. I know they're going to listen to me, and we're always going to be solutions driven. We have an agenda item later today, I think, that exemplifies that. By the way, it was very strategic to put this vote before that agenda item. Just kidding. But again, I just honored, humbled, appreciate the privilege, and look forward to getting the rest of this done. So thank you.
Congratulations again. Okay, on to item 5, which is Resolution 44, granting a boundary adjustment request under the agency's growth management plan and policies affecting approximately 108.63 acres in the City of Gretna's planning and zoning jurisdiction. Dan Hoynes, Agency Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, member mayors. So this request is a byproduct or a derivative, if you will, of a request that was made informally by Gretna almost 2 years ago. There were a lot of starts and stops in the process. Some Gretna, some agency, some analysis, but it's just taken us a long time to get here. I think Gretna really, they have a pending development proposal that Mayor Evans submitted a letter to you that is very important to the city of Gretna, and they have asked for it to go on this agenda for a vote. It's went, while it's been there 2 years, it's only been a handful of days and weeks, or weeks and probably days on some of the concepts here. From an agency perspective, I certainly have made the recommendation, a dual one, if you will. It would make my life much easier if this got tabled. But I know that is not what's easiest for me, and I believe a longer-term solution we're going to be able to find. But the second part of my recommendation, if this board chooses to be responsive to this development, this Gretna request, I think that through working with Paula and Amber, that we've had at least something for your consideration as an agency board. And so motion, and if there's motion and a second to approve it, I would anticipate Mayor Evans would then be able to articulate his need and desire, and I'm just going to call it with the $5,000 reimbursement. I think you've all been adequately briefed, I hope, and read it. And then if there's any additional motions before a vote on the original, that's when those should be entertained. Specifically, the staff recommendation to table, if any member mayor wants to make that. If there's a second, we'll discuss that. And finally, if the motion to table passes, it's tabled. If it doesn't, then there is a revised resolution that was set before you tonight that effectively removes the $5K reimbursement but would allow the development to move on. So I've given you 23 months and about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. But unless any of the mayors or Mr. Chair, you have a question about how we've gotten here, it seemed like a long time ago, but there's been a lot of information into the fire hose really fast here. So with that, I'll pause and answer any questions and the agency board may have, Mr. Chair.
Do we have to follow that order?
You're the chairman. I think in order to give,
I just like to cut to the chase, and then open it up for discussion and let everybody that has comments to be made make them on the motion that I'm going to make right now, which would be to approve an amended motion with the language that's redlined in the document in front of us for approval. That's my motion. Does anybody want to second that?
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Sarpy, a second by Papillion, and now it's time for discussion. And Mayor Black or Mayor Evans, would you like to start?
I sure can. Thank you very much, and congratulations, Administrator Hoynes. it's no surprise, but Western Sarpy County, like a lot of you guys, are seeing a tremendous amount of growth. And it's, part because of our schools, our quality of life, our amenities. And people across the Midwest are really starting to take notice. And a lot of people just want to be part of that growth and part of what everybody here is building. So it's really exciting. And but it's created this problem where everybody wants to be here. We're all trying to deliver infrastructure. So while Gretna, we are for some type of a larger solution, and we've been kind of working with the agency, thinking through that. This specific request with this 108 acres is really development-led because there's kind of some eminent opportunities. And while we thought this process, I think we all learned through it, but it took a lot longer than we expected, and certainly a lot longer than the developers expected. And the developers have to make decisions. They have contracts, agreements, and they're up against the wall. So essentially, if we table it, the concern is it jeopardizes all these developments. And money's already been spent, and I think some of it was in good faith and some of it was in hope. But we just worked through the agency, just kind of let them lead the process and just really tell us what's required and what's reasonable. And this is kind of taken us a year to get here, but I think we've got to a point where maybe it's reasonable. A couple quick notes. So I don't know if there's a map, but these properties are very close to our community. One's literally across the street, and the other one's across the interstate. And the infrastructure.
Excuse me, Lisa, can you call it, there's a map on the agenda item. Can you project that? Go ahead, Mayor, I'm sorry. I'll let her.
Yeah, so both of these are not only close to our city, but very close to infrastructure. And additionally with this, and if you saw the red lines, so Gretna would complete the infrastructure and service it, but when the agency got there, the agency would take over the servicing of it and Gretna would back out. So the intent isn't to take this property and have it be Gretna's. The intent is deliver sewer, and eventually when the agency's there, then we step back. And once again, the development question is it's real, and they need a decision. So a vote to even table is really a vote to deny. And kind of in closing, we went to the state just about a year ago, just under a year ago, and asked for some money because we can create economic development. Well, the best thing about this request, for just 100 acres, we can deliver over $100 million of economic development. We can create a couple hundred jobs. We create millions of dollars of reimbursements to the county and taxes for a number of entities. So I just think this is something I really suggest you considering, not because it's in Gretna, obviously I'm biased, but not because it's in Gretna, because it really is the intent of the agency for economic development. And I also think it makes a statement to our residents, the development community, and the state that we work together, and then this agency can deliver economic development. So with that, thank you very much for your time.
I'm going to agree with Mayor Evans. Staff recommendation was to table, but understanding the agency needs to respond to the development community and what the market's doing. And so not tabling it, I agree with that. And then at the same time, we need to make sure that whatever we're doing, we protect the long-term integrity of the agency. And the way the amendment was originally presented, it actually violated some of the growth management principles and some of the previous actions we've taken. But the staff recommendations and what's in the amendment, to Mayor Evans' point, makes it very clear that, yep, this is a temporary solution, and then when and if the infrastructure's there, they can connect back. And I think that's very consistent with what we've talked to other developers about as well. So I think the the 4 staff recommendations in here do bring it in alignment to the growth management principles, and I think also responds to the market. So that's why I support the amended and not tabling it as well. The only thing I would add, though, I do think there would be wisdom. The reason to table it was mentioned so they could look at the longer-term 1,100 acres, and that really goes to a fiscal analysis. What I would recommend, and I'm not going to amend the motion because I don't want to muck it up, but it would be a strong recommendation that if this passes, staff is still directed now to do that fiscal analysis because it's going to be needed at some point in time anyway, and I think that was the big discussion point. Mm-hmm. So we might as well keep the momentum going on that. I don't know if that needs to be part of the formal motion. If there'd be an agreement, I would do that. So we are directing staff, but even if it's not, I would still ask staff to work on that.
Thank you, Mayor Black. I'll interject there. I actually have a meeting with Jeff and Ernst Young this Friday to do a kickoff parameters, and then I'll bring in the administrators as we go. But, and for the record, and for the longer-term solution, what I'd submitted to Paula is that by the March meeting, we will have an option or options for this board on the 1,100 acres. My time now dedicated to this. I feel very confident, and frankly, progress we've made last week or two.
I don't need to amend the motion. We'll just take the word on that.
I wouldn't feel comfortable with putting it in on these 110.
Right.
We can deal with that when the other 1,000 come in front of us and stuff. You know, I looked at this both ways, and I totally understand Gretna and Mayor Evans asked for the original 5,000. As we build our cities, it takes a tremendous investment, and we've all experienced cash flows issues and what we want to do next, and there's never enough. But I kept coming back to what the original agreement was amongst the agency members. And to make a short-term decision today could affect the really long-term vision that we've had from the very beginning. And that's why I would support the current amendment that's before us now.
I just, and I don't know if this is a good problem or a bad problem, but the growth is coming and we can't stop it. So we better figure out over the next couple of years how we're going to pay for it, because this is a once in a generation. We've said that many times. And I told our new administrator a couple days ago, I said, if we don't have the whole county sewered in 5 years, I said, I'll count that as a failure on our part. Now, we were talking a 50-year project when we initiated this just 6 years ago or 7 years ago, and now we've taken 90% of that time off, and it's not because that's what we want to do. I think it's because what we have to do, and so that'll be our challenge moving forward, is figuring out how we make all that happen, and I think that's why having Dan in the lead is going to be a great asset to us, because we'll leave no stone unturned to figure out how we do it. Because a win for Papillion is a win for Sarpy County. A win for Springfield is a win for Sarpy County, and clearly a win for any city is a win for all of us. So it's going to be we're going to have to, what do you call it, strap in tight, because it's going to be an exciting ride for this agency board for the next decade minimum, and maybe longer. So I'm glad we were able to reach consensus on this. It's an important project, hugely important for the city of Gretna, obviously, but writ large, I think it will benefit all of us in the long run. So
I want to give kudos and thanks to the administrators, though, because it was not an easy process, and a lot of varying interests, and sometimes they seem to conflict. But it was the administrators that came together for the solutions. Want to make sure they get credit for doing the real work. And we come up here for 2 minutes and flip a switch.
That's a great point, and that doesn't get said enough. Thanks for bringing that up. Please vote.
Chairman Kelly, I just want to clarify, it's a motion. We have a motion by Commissioner Kelly.
It's an amended motion,
approve
yeah.
the amended resolution.
Yes.
Okay.
And if you want, I can read it into the record before we vote, or do you have a copy of it?
I have a copy.
Okay, then I
So,
think
and
that
it'll
will
be on,
suffice.
it'll be on the website.
Okay, please vote.
Yea, 6, nays none, motion carried.
All right, item 6 is Resolution 45, authorizing the agency board and agency treasurer to act on behalf of the agency board, I assume over the holidays.
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Dan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, member mayors. That's simply a continuing resolution, if you will, because we have almost 7 weeks in between meetings so that we can keep paying our lawyers and staff and our other bills in here. So it's very similar to what we've done previous years.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Lavissa and a second by Springfield. Discussion? Please vote.
Yea, 6, nays none, motion carried.
Okay, the last item on the agenda today is Resolution 46, approving a professional services proposal for Catalyst Public Affairs. Dan Hoynes, Agency Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, member mayors. First off, Tim did call. He had every intention of being here. He's short staffed right now, and they had the meeting set up with senators. And he asked me, which I thought would be most important for him to meet with senators or come here. And I said, if you mention we need funding for the sewer, that would be the more important meeting with the senators. So, but he did apologize and meant to be here. But when Mr. Timmerman went through the budget amendment, he referenced some other professional line items. We put 50,000 in because last year we'd hired the website design and Tim out of cycle. So we actually reduced that, but identified it in the budget amendment as Catalyst. So it's a 1-year contract, and frankly, it can be terminated at any time. But Tim and I spent 15 minutes on the phone today already aligning discussions with state senators and federal people, and just really getting I was bouncing my ideas off him as in terms of funding. And so I even though I'm full-time, Tim has the connections, and frankly, he delivered big for us last year, and I think he will again this year. And so I think this is money well spent. So I respectfully ask for your approval.
I just wanted clarification. It's a $36,000 12-month contract, right?
Oh, that's 2,000 a month, Mayor.
That's the way it's written, I believe, 3,000, but it can be terminated, so
Oh,
if we get to the end of the legislative session and we don't have earnest work for them we can certainly terminate the contract. So I would look at 36,000 as probably the not to exceed number, not the actual number. That'll depend on the decision of the agency board, how long we want to keep the services employed.
And we'll be able to tell that value pretty easily by Jim.
So if we were to release him in June,
Then it's half.
do we still owe him 36?
No.
We owe him
18,000.
about 3,000 a month.
18,000 if it's half. If it's 6 months in.
30-day notice.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Papillion, second by Bellevue. Further discussion? Please vote.
Yeas, 6, nays none, motion carried.
Okay, our next meeting will be January 24th, 2024. I'd like to wish everybody a great holiday season, a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. And all agenda items having been addressed as published, the Sarpy County and Cities Wastewater Agency Board is adjourned.
Just really quick before you leave, it's not very often as we get older in life that birthdays don't mean as much to us, but very seldom do you get a 100-acre development in your city on your birthday. So I just wanted to wish Mike happy birthday.
Yeah, it is.